All right, welcome back, everybody. We're in the middle of our Grassroots Citizens Panel. Before we go on to the next topic, in the previous segment, we talked about the Department of Education in New York City having to file paperwork with the government there to show that's taking steps to be more diverse in its classrooms. Barry Nussbaum, you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, I wanted to add one comment to the narrative that's out there, Rick, which I find despicable. The way they run this through, they had a label on it calling it the apartheid school system of New York. Wow. It really offends me when words that have great significance in history, like apartheid or Holocaust, are thrown around, and people are so afraid to redefine what the situation really is that policies that probably shouldn't even be talked about get through based on that legacy.
I agree with you. This is in no way apartheid, and it diminishes what apartheid...
Exactly my point. Thank you.
Apartheid actually was.
That's how the illegal aliens use civil rights. They say it's a civil rights issue. We break.
There you go. I hadn't thought of that analogy, but it makes sense. Next topic. We know there was... Victoria, you want to add something to that?
Yes, I don't think we have a race problem. Our president is half black. The first lady is black, and the richest woman in entertainment is Oprah Winfrey, and she's black. I think that the Communist Party's goals a long time ago were to break up the family unit and to make racial conflict and class conflict and redistribution of wealth. It's Marxism, and the Marxists are stirring this up. The Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which President Obama and Holder and Al Sharpton are following to a T. If it wasn't for them, we don't have a race problem. America has equality for everyone.
Ted Hayes, you say she's exactly right.
Yeah, I ditto exactly what she's saying. In fact, I have documents that says that the Communist Party of the United States back in the 30s, I think it was, said if we're going to break into America, we do it through the Negroes. We play on the slavery, we play on Jim Crow, we play on that, and we just hang with them and don't try to teach them, just befriend them first. And once we befriended them, and hence 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was basically a socialist, communist, poisonous pill designed specifically to destroy the descendants of chattel slaves, as you see Baltimore, Chicago, New York, etc.
Next topic, we saw, of course, a few weeks ago, Pamela Geller had the Prophet Muhammad drawing contest in Garland, Texas, and two radical Islamists, of course, were shot and killed at that event. Now a group in Phoenix is planning an anti-Islam event, and they're going to have a Prophet Muhammad cartoon drawing contest. I get their point, Victoria. They're trying to show that we have freedom of speech in America, but I believe they're being insightful in their actions. You disagree with that, or you think this is a good idea?
I think she's really brave. I've written some articles about what Muhammad was really like, and there's a Muslim in my neighborhood who's trying to silence me, and it's kind of working. I've kind of backed off of telling the truth about Islam and how it's a satanic cult because I'm afraid. And I think she's brave, and I think it's a great idea, because it's the only way to show the masses of Americans that Sharia law cannot coexist with the Constitution. Sharia law does not allow freedom of speech, and this is like a way to show it. It does seem like she's stirring up trouble, but what trouble? We're free. We're allowed to draw a cartoon of Jesus. Why aren't we allowed to draw a cartoon of Muhammad? Islam should not be treated special. If it is, that means we are under Sharia law, so I support her.
Ted Hayes?
You know, on one hand, I've got to side with the Muslims on this one, because the Bible does tell you, make no images of God or those kinds of divine persons and so forth. And I think that we all should respect one another's faith in those areas. I think for me, when they made Jesus a blue-eyed, blonde-haired, Hollywood, handsome, hairy guy, it's really messed my people's heads up.
Sure.
So I understand where the Muslims are coming from there, and we should respect that.
Barry?
I agree 100% with our favorite comedian in Nashville today. Pam Geller is one of the bravest women I've ever met in my life.
What about this event in Phoenix?
I've spent time with her, and the message that Pam's trying to get out is, as Victoria says, our country believes in freedom of speech, not proper speech, non-offensive speech. You're allowed to say anything as long as you're not causing a crime or inciting a crime. And we were founded on those principles, and we have to defend those principles. Whether we like the speech or we dislike the speech, it has to be okay. Because if, as Victoria says, if Sharia law starts influencing how we behave in this country, then we're giving up constitutional rights, and we can't be okay with that under any circumstance, regardless of the topic.
And I'm not saying these folks in Phoenix don't have the right to do what they're doing, but I believe they're putting lives in danger, and they're trying to be purposely.
But Rick, what does that really say? If certain speech that's free, that's protected by the Constitution, as Victoria says, or as Victoria tries to speak, and then she's worried about the guy up the street.
Which is wrong, entirely
Absolutely.
wrong.
What it says is that certain speech that offends people is not going to be allowed because those people are going to be crazy real fast. And that's not okay. We have to stand up for free speech, even if it's offensive free speech.
Ted, what do you say to that?
Again, well, not much, other than I think the Muslims are right to ask you not to make images. And I think Catholics shouldn't do it, Christians shouldn't do it, Jews shouldn't do that. There's just common civil respect and decency. But I do believe we have to stand against...
But you can't not do it under the threat of violence.
I agree with that. That I agree with. Yes, sir.
All right, next topic, the economy. If you listen to the mainstream media, if you listen to President Barack Obama, all is well in America. But as we have said on this show, according to April figures by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the workforce participation rate is at 62.8%. Only 62.8% of those Americans who are able to work are working. 93.1 million Americans are out of work. Victoria, is this something, it seems to me, with all that's wrong in the world today and in America, the violence in the Middle East, the unemployed here at home, you would think the Republican Party would know how to wrap their arms around all that's wrong and say, we have an answer, we have a solution, here is the way. But I never hear that, do you?
The Republican Party has been infiltrated by progressives. That's what's wrong with them. We should not have government regulations on all the businesses so that they wouldn't go to other countries, and we should drill, baby, drill for oil here, and we could easily have a great economy. It's just that the enemy of America is running the show.
What do you say, Barry?
I think it's a number of things. Number one, you've got the lowest interest rates in generations. You've got the most amount of government stimulus in generations. You've got a government spinning the statistics, and yet the truth is the economy shrank. Can you imagine where we would be if interest rates were at normal?
And Ted, you know, he said the government spinning the numbers. President Obama came out and said, well, these numbers aren't really, they're not really put together the way they should be. Why hasn't he complained about that in the past?
He doesn't have to. He's an African-American. He can do anything he wants to do. You got to remember that. We have a affirmative action president. We put him there, and we deserve what we're getting.
Final note on a lighthearted topic. I want to ask Victoria your take on this. A customer at a Washington, D.C. restaurant thought that his fried chicken gumbo tasted so good that he left a $2,000 tip on a $35 bill. What a story is that? What kind of story is that, huh?
And my dog said, I want to be a waiter now.
All right.
I wish I was a guy tipping the waiter.
That's right. All right, that's our panel. I want to thank civil rights advocate, homeless advocate, as well as self-described America's alternative to Al Sharpton, Ted Hayes.
Thank you.
The founder, the president of the Israel group, Barry Nussbaum, an epic comedian, epic actress, SNL alum, host of the Victoria Jackson Show. Go ahead.
Can I plug something?
Yes.
I have a movie that just came out on iTunes called Marriage Material. Check it out. Mwah!
Marriage Material on iTunes. We will check it out, Victoria Jackson. I want to thank each of you for being part of our Grassroots Citizens Panel. We're back with more and a special announcement after the break. Stay with me. From the edge of America, I'm Rick Amato. Back after this.